Hello students, in this video lecture we are going to discuss about the general linear list. So first let us define what is a linear list. A linear list is a list in which each element will have at most one predecessor and at most one successor, except the first node and the last node, who will have exactly one successor and one predecessor. All other nodes in the middle of a linear list will have exactly one node in its left side and one node in its right side. This cannot be altered by adding more elements as successor or predecessor. So this is the characteristic of a linear list. Whereas if you compare this with a non-linear list, in a non-linear list there is no such limit or restriction on the number of predecessor and successor for any node. A node can have multiple predecessor or multiple successor, and that means that it can be connected with the multiple nodes or multiple elements. So that is a non-linear list. And one more point regarding the general linear list is that it facilitates the insertion or deletion at any position in the list. So there is no restriction on where new element can be added or from where the existing element can be removed. It can happen at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the list. So these two characteristics makes the general linear list or simply linear list. Now some of the basic operations that are possible on a linear list. We can perform these operations on a linear list. We can insert a new element into the list. As we seen, you can insert either at the beginning of the list or in the middle of the list or at the end of the list. Similarly, the deletion can also happen in all the three positions, and retrieval is a process by which we search for a particular value and locate it, or we determine that value is not in the list. So it's basically a search operation aiming to find a particular value in the list. Traversal is different from a retrieval, because in a retrieval we have a goal or we have a target. So only until we reach the target we go on to search the list. But traversal is about going through all the nodes in the list. So we have to visit each and every element in the list and do some processing during that. So that is a traversal. Let us first take the insert operation. So the list insertion can be happening on either ordered list or random list. So the difference between an ordered list and a random list is that in an ordered list, elements are either in ascending order or in descending order. So in such case, when you want to insert a new element into the list, you can't arbitrarily insert that element anywhere in the list. You have to insert it exactly in its right position. For example, if the list contains 4 followed by 6 and you want to insert 5, you have to insert it precisely between 4 and 6. Only then the order can be preserved. So that is the way in which the ordered list has to be maintained, and the insertion is a little more tedious because of this requirement that you have to first locate its correct position and then only you can insert it into the list. But a random list is having no such arrangement, so the elements are not ordered in any way. So you can insert anywhere in the list, and most commonly the new elements are inserted at the end of the list in a random list. So ordered lists are maintained in sequence according to the data, and the data generally is referred as a key. So the key based on which the elements are ordered in a ordered list, and the order can be either ascending or descending depending upon the need of the situation. Whereas in the case of random list, there is no sequential relationship between two elements. The elements are simply stored in random order, and there is no relationship between which ascending or descending exists between the elements. So end of the list, adding at the end of the list is the simplest approach that can be followed for the random list. And for this reason it's also known as chronological list. So the data must be inserted into an ordered list so that the ordering of the list is maintained. That means that if you want to insert an element into the ordered list, we have to be prepared for inserting at any position in the list because of the ordered nature. So we can't we can't insert the element always at the end of the list. We may have to add it at the beginning also. For example, the first element in the existing list is 2 and the element you want to add is 1. So obviously you have to insert that new element into the beginning of the list. Similarly, you may have to insert at the end of the list or somewhere in the middle of the list. So depending upon the order to be followed for the new element, we may have to insert at all the 3 positions. So the algorithm we write for the insert operation under the ordered list has to take care of this requirement. And there is also a need of search algorithm because the first step in insertion is finding the correct position, then only we can do the actual insert operation. So for that we can make use of the search algorithm to locate the ideal position for the new element. The idea of a search element is like this, that you have to keep traversing in the list until you reach an element which is greater than the until we reach an element which is greater than the element to be inserted. So once you reach that element, you know that the new element has to be inserted just before that because of the ascending order nature of the list. So once you reach the first larger value than the element you want to insert, that is you have to stop the search with that element and you insert the new element before that element. That's all. That is the idea of a search algorithm, identifying the correct position for the new element. Now when it comes to implementation, we have got different data structures for the implementations of the linear list, and 2 of the most common and popular data structures are arrays and linked lists. So we have come across arrays and arrays in the in various programming languages. So that is the same idea we are also referring here. Arrays are nothing but collection of similar elements identified by a common name, and we will see the characteristics of an array in the next slide. But for the purpose of our discussions in the subject, we will be most likely using a linked list implementation instead of an array implementation. So the linked list is slightly different from an array. A linked list is preferred because it is the one that allows you to actually insert and delete element from a list. You can't insert new element into an array, or you can't delete an existing element from an array. You can only simulate the insert and delete operations. You can't actually add a new element, or you can't actually remove a existing element. You can do a simulation to look like you are inserting or deleting, because the array is fixed. You can't reduce or decrease the size of an array. So that is the limitation of an array. But a linked list is flexible, that you can actually add a new element and increase the size of the linked list, or you actually delete an element which results in reducing the size of the list. So it is done at the physical level. To implement the linked list, we need 2 different structures, a head node and a data node. So we will see what is contained in a head node and the data node. So this is the pictorial representation of the implementation. So conceptually we can look at the list simply like this, that element 1 contains value 10 or data 10, and the next element contains 20, 30 and 40. You can see it's an ordered list. But internally this is how it is implemented, that you have a head pointer or a head node which contains 2 values, count and link pointer or the head pointer. The link, I mean the count is nothing but number of elements that are currently in the list, and head contains the address of the first node. This particular head value is very important, because in a linked list, if you lose the head pointer, then you can't trace the array linked list. So it's only with the help of the initial pointer or the node address of the first node you can get into the list and traverse the entire list till the last element. So the head pointer is an important requirement of a linked list, which contains the address of the first node. Then coming to the data link, so this is the data node, which contains again two elements, the actual data and the link pointer. Here the actual data is nothing but the data that we want to store, whatever the data we want to represent through that particular node, that is filled here, and there is a link pointer which contains the address of the next node. So basically we will be creating a chain of links such that all the individual nodes are interconnected. So physically they are actually independent nodes, they are not even in sequence. If you look at the actual memory, you will find this node somewhere at the top, this node somewhere in the middle, this node may be somewhere in the bottom. So physically they are not in any particular order, but we just create a connection between them with the help of the link pointer. So this link pointer is what makes them to appear like a single link starting from the head to the last node. So this is how the linked list is going to be created. A quick summary of the differences between arrays and linked lists. Arrays are of fixed size. You have to specify the size of an array when you declare an array int a of 5. So it will remain 5 elements and it will never reduce or increase. But linked lists don't have anything called size. You start with a 0 node, you add one node, you add another node, and you add another node, and then you reduce one node. So it will dynamically increment and decrement throughout the execution of the program. So it is dynamic, size is not fixed and it is dynamically adjusted. In an array, elements cannot be inserted once the array is full, because it's fixed size. Once the array is full, you can't add any new element into the list. But a linked list, there is no question of getting full. It will just go on to expand. So the linked list, we don't have to bother about full linked list. Consecutive memory locations are assigned to array elements. This is a very important characteristic of an array. Whenever an array is declared, the compiler will always identify consecutive memory locations as per the size of the array. Say if you declare an array of size 5, then it will identify 5 memory locations that are in sequence. For example, first address may be 100, second address may be 101, and so on. So the memory addresses for an array will always be in sequence, because without it we can't keep track of the array elements. But that is not a compulsion for the linked list. So the linked list memory locations are generally in random order. Next, when it comes to traversal, the traversal of an array is much simpler than the traversal of a linked list. The reason is that the arrays are made based on the consecutive memory locations. So all the elements of an array are all in consecutive memory locations starting from the first element. So the address of the first element is called as a base address, and base address incremented by 1 or precisely incremented by the address of the data, size of the data type, will point to the next address, and the third element will have a similar address in the same sequence. So if you know the base address, if you increment this by with a number, you can go to that particular element. For example, if you want to reach the second element in the list, you have to just increment the base address by 2. So you can go to that particular element. So knowledge of the base address is enough to locate any element in the array and also to traverse the array based on that base address. But coming to the linked list, the problem with the linked list is that the nodes are not in consecutive memory locations, they are in random memory locations. So even if you know the address of the first node, you can't know the address of the second node with the help of it. So it requires a more explicit arrangement such that each and every node in the linked list must include a field called the link field. So the link field is nothing but a pointer which contains the address of the next node. So whenever you reach the nth node, you have to refer the link field of the nth node. Only then you can go to the n+1 node. So this is more tedious, and additional memory needs to be spent for storing the addresses in the case of linked list. Next is insert and delete. If you want to perform insert and delete in an array, if these two operations are done at the end of the array, then it's simple. You just can insert a new element or you can delete an element. But when you want to do it in the middle of a list, then you have to move all other elements one step. Let's say you want to delete, you want to insert an element at the third position, which means starting from the fourth element, you have to move all the elements one step towards the end, so that you create a space and then you can insert the new element. Otherwise it will override the element that is already there. So insert operation is requiring to push all the elements to one side. Similarly, delete operation will also make all the elements to be moved to the left side, so that the deleted element position does not remain empty. So this is a tedious process, but in a linked list it's very simple. You can actually get rid of an element by deleting it, and you can insert an element by just changing the link pointers. So by just adjusting the link pointer of the one or two nodes, you can easily insert and delete in the linked list. Next difference is, in the case of an array, memory is only spent for storing the actual values. There is no memory special members added into the array to keep track of the list, unlike a linked list. So here the memory is only spent for storing the actual values. But in the case of linked list, you need lot of additional memory to implement. For example, you need a head pointer so that you can know the address of the first node, and you need the link pointer in every single node. So all that will consume more amount of memory. Bidirectional traversal is possible in an array because base address +1 means you can go to the first element, and you can also do it in the reverse way, so that you can also traverse in any possible. So you can either move in first to last or from last to first. So just with the help of the index of an array, you can increment the index from 0. That means you are traversing in one direction, and you decrement the index from the highest index towards 0. It means you can traverse in the opposite direction. But in a linked list, it is impossible to traverse in both directions, because the link field is only pointing to the next element, not to the previous element. So you cannot come back from the a node to its previous node, except a case of a doubly linked list, where you will be adding one more pointer into the nodes, so that that pointer is going to hold the address of the previous node. Otherwise it is not possible to traverse in both directions. One directional traversal is what supported by a singly or a simple normal linked list. And arrays are more suitable for linear data structures, because in linear data structures a node is going to be having only one predecessor and one successor, and that is also the nature of an array. So it naturally suits for the implementation of linear data structure. But linked lists are flexible, and they can be used for both linear and non-linear data structures. Arrays are very simple to implement. You just need to declare an array and make use of the index to manipulate an array. But linked list requires a very careful implementation, without making any mistake, whether you want to implement the insert operation or delete operation, search operation or traversal. Each operation has to be done very carefully so that you don't get into a mistake. So that requires the it is more complex to implement the linked list operations. This is the visually how the two lists are looking like. So you can see that in an array the elements are generally stored in consecutive memory locations 100, 101, 102 and so on up to 106. So if you know the address of this element, you can guess the address of the last element because it's in sequence. But here what you see is that I have to maintain a head pointer in which I have to store the address of the first node. So this is done. Then I have to use the link pointer in each node to hold the address of the next node. Otherwise this will not be chained together. They will just remain as individual nodes in the memory. So this chaining is done here. And one more point you can notice that the addresses are not in proper sequence. The first node is at 104, whereas the second node is at 101. This is impossible with arrays, but linked list there is no restriction that the addresses only have to be in ascending order. They can be in any order, random order. Now moving on to the algorithms. We can write any number of algorithms for the linked list implementation depending upon our requirement. Whatever problem we have taken to implement using the general list with the linked list, we can write our own algorithm. But there are some general operations, 10 operations that are normally made used in multiple applications. So we will be focusing on these operations alone. Create list. So create list is for creating an empty list, or the head node is going to be created when you call this particular algorithm. So the first step in constructing a linked list is creating the head, because the head node is going to be the one that points to the first node, and then the first node will point to the second node and so on. So this is the step first step in the node creation. So set list head to null. Set list count to 0. Initially, when there are no nodes in the list, the head has to be null and the count is 0. Count is number of elements, number of nodes in the linked list, which is also 0. So we have to this is how it's what we have done is just this, that we have initialized the count with the 0 and the head pointer is assigned to the value of null. The next operation is actually the insert operation. So insert operation is about adding a new element into the list, and let us keep in mind that we are going to be implementing the insert operation assuming that it is an ordered list. So ordered list means that the element has to be added precisely at its expected position, which could be at the beginning, at the middle, or at the end of the list. So accordingly we have to consider all the options. We may be trying to insert into an empty list. This is first option, that there are no existing nodes in the list, and what we are going to insert is going to be the first node itself. So insert into empty list. Insert at the beginning, which means that there is a linked list that is already there, at least some 1 or 2 elements are there, but the new node has to be inserted as the first node in the list, replacing the previous first node. So we have to make the adjustment at the beginning of the list so that the new node gets inserted at the beginning, insert at the end. So the node has to be inserted at the end of the list. Given the predecessor, there are 3 steps to the insertion. First step is we must acquire the memory for the node. So for that, if you are implementing in C, then you will be using malloc function. So you must create the memory needed for representing the node. So memory allocation. Next is point the new node to its successor. So whichever position we want to add the new node, we must make it to point to the successor. That is, the link field of the new node should contain the addresses of its successor. But this is not applicable when you want to add the new node at the end of the list, because at the end of the list the new node is only going to have a null value in its link field and it won't be pointing to any other node. But for other positions we have to ensure this particular step, and the predecessor of the new node must point to the new node. So please keep in mind the usage of these two terms, predecessor and successor. It will be helpful in our discussion. Predecessor is the node that is going to be coming before the new node. So the node the new node is going to be inserted after the predecessor node, and the successor is the node that is going to be following the new node. The one that comes after the new node is the successor. So this is just an example of how the insert operation is done. So initially what we see here is that we have got in the previous case we saw that there is a single node, the head only created. At the time the count is 0 and the head is null. Now from this we want to insert the first node. In that case it will be done like this. So we have got the first node inserted, which resulted in these changes. Count has changed into 1. Now the head is not null, but it is containing the address of the first node, and the first node is having the some data, and its link field is null because it is not having any successor. Its link field is null. When you want to add one more node, no change needs to be done in the head, but it has to be, the count has to be incremented, and the link field of the last node gets replaced by the address of the new node, so that the new node becomes the successor of the node 100, or in other words, this is the predecessor for the new node, and the new node don't have any successor, so it's having null value. These changes have happened. When we write the algorithm, we must keep in mind the changes that are required. And in this example, what you see here is that it's not always necessary to insert only at the end. We may even want to insert at the middle. In that case, it is going to be like this. So what you see here is that we have replaced the 101 by 102, because now 100 is going to be followed by 102, not by 101. So this change has happened, and this 101 is copied into the new node link. So the link field of the new node is now containing 101, so that the link is now rearranged like this. No change is required in the last node. We only have to change the new node and its predecessor, so that the linked list gets reordered like this after an insertion of a node. The first change is count was incremented. Next, the link field of the predecessor node is changed into 102, which is the address of the new node that needs to be inserted. Next, the link field of the new node is now copied with the link of the predecessor node. See, what was the address inside the link field of the predecessor first gets copied into the new node, and after that it gets this gets overwritten by the new node address. So this has to be done in this order. Just look at the problem. If you do it in the wrong order, that you first replace this by 102 and then you want to write 101 here, which is impossible, because once you have overwritten this 101 by some other value, you can't access 101 anywhere else. So this node will remain disconnected from the list and it cannot be connected again. So you have to first copy this 101 into the link field of the new node. After that you have to copy the 102 into the link field of the predecessor. I will show you the algorithm which will exactly follow this particular order. This is another example where we want to insert the new node at the beginning itself. That is the first node itself to be replaced by the new node. Now what changes we have done? We have changed the head itself. We have changed the value inside the head itself by the address of the new node, and the link field of the new node has been assigned the address that was inside the head itself. Again you have to maintain the order. You should first copy this head address into the link field of the new node. After that you have to copy the new address into the head. If you do it in wrong order, you will lose 100, and the 100 the entire list after starting from 100 will be disconnected from the linked list. So this is the order to be followed. Count is incremented, the address of the link head is changed to 102, and the link field of the new node is now having the address 100. This is the algorithm for the insert node operation in a linked list. We will evaluate the algorithm with some simulation. The first thing that you have to note down is that we will be making use of few pointers, and the number one pointer is called as a p3 pointer, which is nothing but the predecessor pointer, and it is said to be a logical predecessor. The reason that this has been mentioned as a logical predecessor is that we are going to deal with the ordered list, which means that any insert operation must to identify the logical predecessor based on the value we want to insert, and then we have to do the actual insertion. And we are not going to implement the search operations or discuss the search operation in this particular algorithm. We assume that the predecessor, logical predecessor, is somehow found already. We are just going to complete the insert operation. So this algorithm will only focus on attaching the new node with into the list. So the p3 is the pointer which is the logical predecessor after which the new node has to be inserted. The first step to be done is creating the memory that is necessary for the node, because it's a dynamic memory allocation based implementation. So for whenever we want to add a new node, you first have to acquire the memory needed for that node. If it is a program implementation, then for this statement we would have used a malloc statement or a new operator in the case of a C++ program. So some memory allocation statement has to be used here to create the new node. Second step is the data has to be copied into the new node, because the purpose of creating a node is to store some data. So before attaching the node with the linked list, we have to fill the data into that particular node. So this statement is saying that put the data into the new node. The next condition is if p3 null. So p3, as we had seen, it is a predecessor after which the new node has to be inserted. If it is null, there are two possibilities. The first possibility is that either the node is empty, which means that currently the head is null and there are no nodes in the linked list, and what we are trying to insert is going to be the first node in the linked list itself. So we must insert accordingly. Other possibility is that there are actually nodes existing in the linked list, but as per the logical order, the new node has to be inserted at the beginning itself. For example, you are trying to insert the value 1, whereas the first node value is larger than 1. Let's say it's 2. So in that case, the predecessor p3 will be null and it will not be showing any pointer. So you have to insert the new node as the first node before the first node into the linked list. So for both implementations we have the same statements. The two statements provided here will fulfill both of the requirements. I'll show you a quick demo of how this really works before proceeding to the insertion in other positions. Let us assume that the first case is the list is empty. So the list is empty and there are no elements in the list as of now. In that case, this is the condition. The head is null. I'm going to ignore the count variable for my discussions because it is a rudimentary activity that you have to keep increment and decrement the count variable whenever you insert or delete, and it's not helpful for the implementation in any way. I'm just going to ignore it, focus on the pointers only. So the head is right now null because it's an empty list. Now what should happen? We have to construct a new node, which has been done here, and we have to copy the data into the new node. That's also done. What is now need to be done is that we have to attach them or connect them. That connection is done with these two lines. pnew.link, which means this is pnew and this is the link field which is currently empty. pnew.link equal to list.head. That means this is list and its head value is null. So what will happen? Simply null is copied into the link field of the new node because it's not going to be pointing to any node, so it's null value. Next line says list.head equal to pnew. Again this is list and this is head equal to pnew. So when you write the pointer name itself, it will be assigning the address of the pointer to this variable. So head is going to be changed into 100. See, remember, differentiate the statements pnew.link and pnew. pnew.link means you are referring to the link field of the node pointer, whereas pnew you are referring to the address of the node itself. So we have to differentiate this for all the algorithms. This is how it is done when the list is empty. As I told, the same two lines will also work when you want to insert at the beginning as the first node. Let me show you the demo for that. So in this given situation, the head is not empty. Instead, it is actually pointing to some other node, and there are also a chain of nodes following the first node. But I want to insert the new node here. Just ignore the data values. They are just I'm just randomly assigned. So the new data has to be inserted right here. Now what should I do? The same two lines will be followed. The first line is pnew.link equal to list.head. So what will happen? 100 gets copied into the link field so that this new node, this first node becomes the successor of the new node. So it is done correctly. The next step says list.head equal to pnew. List.head equal to pnew, which means this becomes 110. So now the linked list has been realigned such that head is pointing to the new node and new node is pointing to the previously what was the first node, and then the nodes are following. So what we have done is we have inserted the new node at the front of the linked list. So both happened with the same two lines. This is about the first option when the p3 is null. But on the other hand, if p3 is not null, which means we have to insert either at the middle or at the end of the linked list. For that also we have two lines which will work both in the case of middle as well as end. Again, I am going to show you a demo to make it clear. So just let us just observe the statements. Set pnew link to p3 link, set p3 link to pnew. These are the two lines, whether we want to insert in the middle or at the end. So how does it actually work? So these are the two lines that we have seen. pnew.link equal to p3.link and p3.link equal to pnew. So let us first take the situation where I want to insert this node at the end of the list, which means I will 100 followed by 101 should be followed by 103. For that, in that case, this becomes P new and this becomes P pre. P pre is the predecessor of the new node, which is right now this particular node. So what is the first line says? P new dot link equal to P pre dot link. What is P new dot link? This field. This field is currently empty, which is to be assigned the value of P pre dot link. In fact, it is null. So null will be copied into this field. Step 1. Second step is P pre dot link equal to P new. Which one is P pre? This node. Its link has to be copied the P new address. Remember, it's just P new dot link. Whenever you write these algorithms, you must be very careful in where to write dot link and where to write just the node name itself. So it will go wrong if you make a wrong writing. So we have to copy 103 here. Now what has happened? This node has been now connected to the linked list. So we have successfully attached a new node into the linked list at the end of the list with these two statements. Now let us see how it works when you want to insert at the middle. See, right now I want to insert this node at the middle of the list. So between A and B, which means this is predecessor and this is successor, and the P new has to be inserted right here. The same two lines will facilitate that. So what is the first line? P new dot link equal to P pre dot link. That means this link equal to P pre dot link, which means 101. So 101 has to be copied into P new. This is what I mentioned while discussing a new insert, in that you should do it in this order, that you first get this address from the previous pointer or previous node to the new. After that you overwrite this. If you overwrite this first, then you will never get 101 to write to copy here. So first you copy 101 here, step 1. Next is P pre dot link equal to P new. What will happen? This link equal to 103. So what has now happened? Now the linked list has been modified, that head is pointing to 100, 100 is pointing to 103, and 103 is pointing to 101, and the 101 is the last node. So the link has been modified like this. This is inserted at the middle of the list. So we have seen 4 possible insertions. One is inserting into an empty list, inserting at the beginning as the first node, inserting at the end, and inserting at the middle. But basically you have to just remember 4 lines. 2 lines or 2 statements for inserting at the beginning or at the empty list, and 2 for inserting at the middle or at the end. That will complete the that will do the implementation in all the 4 cases. So this is the algorithm we have to follow for inserting a node into a linked list. Next is delete operation. So deletion is also having the same condition, that you may have to delete it from the beginning, from the middle, or from the end. But deleting from an empty list is not going to happen. We only have to consider 3 options. So what is the algorithm? Let us observe the algorithm. If P pre is null, set list head to a P location link. So if P pre is null, once again we are trying to remove from the first node. See, there in insert we considered 2 possibilities when P pre was null. That is, either it's an empty list or we want to insert as the first node. But here you can't delete from a empty list, so we only consider deleting from the first node. So in that case what we do, set the list head to p location link. See, in the previous insert and algorithm, we used p new to represent the new node, but p loc or p location in the deletion represents the node to be deleted. So keep this in mind. So set list head to p location link. In other words, list.head is going to be p location dot link. Let me show you the demo for that. List.head equal to p loc dot link. What will happen now? Let us say I want to delete this particular first node, which is address 100. What should happen? What will happen? List.head equal to ploc.link. This is list.head. This is ploc.link. So this 101 will be copied into this address, this head. What will happen? So it gets automatically removed. Once the node goes out of the link, it can be treated as deleted. The memory will be revoked by the operating system and it gets automatically removed. So this is the simple step for deleting the first node. Just copy the link of the node to be deleted into the head and that the deletion is completed. But what if you want to delete from some other location? For that we have the else part. Else deleting any other node. We just have one line for deleting from middle and end. Set p3 link to p location link. Only difference is here we changed the list, here we changed the p3. That's all is required. So again we have a small demo. So right now I want to, let's say which one to be deleted. Let us assume I want to delete the node with the 103. Now what should happen? I must first treat this as the PLOC node and which one is P3? The previous node or the predecessor. So given that these two nodes are there, p3.link equal to ploc.link, which means this value has to be overwritten by the value here, which means, okay, you can see that 101 is copied into this node and this connection is made now modified like this, that 100 is now pointing to 101 instead of 103 and this node gets automatically removed from the linked list. So in this way we can perform the insert and delete operations just with a few lines of code. We must implement this with careful, because if you miss the link or if you put the link wrongly, both will become it will make the algorithm to completely fail. The next algorithm we have the search algorithm. Search, as I told you, you want to locate an element. And the advantage of an ordered list is that the elements are in ascending order. So you can actually search the element till you reach a value which is greater than the searched value. As soon as you find a value which is larger than what you searched for or what you search for, you can determine that the element is not in the list and you can give up the search, because it is in ascending order. You have this option. Otherwise, you if it is unordered, then you have to elaborately do the search as a linear search, starting from first element till the last element until you find or you will reach the end of the list. So this is the ordered list search. So loop p location not null, condition 1, p location not null, which means you haven't reached the end of the list, and target greater than p location key. The second condition is that you haven't found an element which is larger than the element you are searching for. So until both conditions are false, this will keep on searching the list. In each iteration, it will update the p3 to p location so that you keep moving to the subsequent links, and p location to the p location link. So in this way it will keep moving from node to node, and finally if p location is null, which means we could not find the the value that we intended to search for, and we reached the end of the list. So p location is null because the last node contains null value in its link field. So this has happened. Every iteration p location is updated to p location of link. So if you reach the last node, the link field is going to be null value, which actually gets assigned to p location, which will end the loop, and also it will be true here. So set found to be false. We are unable to find the value. Whereas if target equal p location, this is the ideal aim we are looking for, that we are successfully finding the value. So set found to true. Can you guess what is this else representing? This else actually indicates the second case, that is target greater than p location key. So we haven't reached the last node but terminated the search somewhere in the middle, because we have already reached an element which is larger than the searched element. So that will be also equivalent to found to false. We could not find the element, so search is completed. This is algorithm is not actually an useful algorithm, because generally linked lists are never full. We never have to bother about whether the linked list is full or not, but this is just likely to happen when there is a memory limitation, that there is no sufficient memory to create further nodes. So in that case this may be valid, but it's not so important. And empty list, how do you know whether the list is empty or not? Two things we can try. One is, if head equal to null, then definitely the list is empty. Or if count equal to 0, that's also a way to know whether the list is empty or not. But they have used the second approach, if the count equal to 0. How do you know the number of elements in the linked list? You know the count just based on the count field in the head pointer, so you can display it. What if the count variable is not included into the head? Then you must traverse the linked list and calculate the actual number of nodes in the linked list. For that you have to try an algorithm yourself. And one more algorithm I want you to try is a search in a non-linear list. So it should have some difference to be made. So try to implement an algorithm to do searching in a non-linear linked list count and traverse list. So traverse algorithm is meant for traversing or visiting each and every node in the linked list. So for that the logic is, you start from the first node and you keep moving from one node to another until you reach the last node, which will be known by hitting the null pointer. The moment the pointer variable hits null pointer, you can end this traversal, knowing that this must be the last node in the linked list. So you can even write your algorithm based on this idea, traversal algorithm. So these are the various algorithms to be implemented for the linked list. So there are also other advanced versions of the linked list, like circular linked list, double linked list, which we will be exploring in the next video lecture. And my suggestion to you is that you get familiar with these algorithms, and also you try to implement these algorithms in any programming language, preferably in C or C++, where there is a pointer support available. You try to modify these algorithms into programs, so that it will be a good practice. Thank you.